What's up, guys? This is Inlight with Enlightened Gaming. Hope y'all had a happy Halloween. I know I did. Today, I wanted to discuss why the Heart of Azeroth and Azerite power in specific just didn't work quite as well as artifact power and the artifact weapon did. So, let's just jump right in here. So, when it comes down to this discussion, if you just look at it, it really comes down to simplicity versus complexity. Um, when you look at the artifact weapon from Legion, the whole system really is a lot more streamlined. You go out, you get your artifact weapon right off the bat. I mean, similar to BFA, but just like BFA, whenever you do quests and missions, and whenever you kill rares, and pretty much anything you do has the ability to drop artifact power. Just like anything you do in BFA has the ability to drop Azerite power. With this artifact power and or Azerite power, you use these tokens to then level up your artifact weapon, which in turn makes your character more powerful, makes your weapon more powerful, and eventually even gives you the ability to unlock traits. Some of these traits even make your class play differently. It gives your class more dynamic mechanics. Sometimes the traits were even required for you to get into certain raids. Some guilds required you to have a certain amount of traits unlocked or a certain level of concordance unlocked towards the end of Legion for you to get into certain guilds or into certain raids, or even to certain Mythic Plus keys. Now, if you look at the two systems, one thing that they tried to mimic the dynamic of the relics, right? The relics with the Azerite gear, okay? Because you have your Azerite weapon, right? And your Azerite weapon, based off your Azerite weapon's level, it gets really complicated, okay? Based off your Azerite's weapon's level, your relics give different effects to your artifact weapon, okay? Similar to your Azerite armor. Based off your Heart of Azeroth's level, your Azerite armor gives different effects, okay? So if you level up your Heart of Azeroth, it will allow you to unlock different effects in each of the Azerite armor's trees, and each Azerite armor piece obviously has different spec-specific and even neutral Azerite traits. Now the problem here is that on the artifact weapon, the relics were a side system that were implemented to complement the whole artifact weapon system as a whole, right? Okay, you were gaining artifact power to level the artifact weapon system, which then gave you the artifact weapon traits that were set in stone, not randomized. Every character every person who played a mage, who played your spec, they got the same specs. There was no randomization, which some would argue comes at a problem, creates a problem with uniqueness, but at the same time, it doesn't. The RNG problems with the slot machine values, it isn't there. But anyway, the relics were implemented to create this uniqueness, right? Because not everyone is going to have the same relics. Everyone will have the same artifact traits. They might not have the same concordance levels, but most people are going to have all of the same traits because you're going to have all the traits unlocked, especially later on in Legion whenever they upped the amount of artifact power that you were getting from every token, because they took away knowledge and pretty much gave everybody a maximum amount of knowledge. So relics were a way of kind of diversifying everybody's artifact weapon so that everybody was kind of having a different effect. And later the Netherlight Crucible was also given, was kind of making each player's weapon more and more unique. Okay, now if you look at this graph here, I drew up a little graph. So here's the problem with the the complexity of the current Azerite system. So if you see right here, we have you gain artifact power, right? This little Azerite crystal right here. You gain Azerite power, and you put it into your Azerite necklace, right? And instead of your Azerite necklace gaining any traits, your Azerite necklace levels up, and whenever your Azerite necklace levels up, your helmet gains a trait. And whenever your Azerite necklace levels up again, your shoulders gain a trait. And then when your Azerite necklace levels up again, your helmet might gain another trait, and then your chest might gain a trait, but your shoulders don't gain a trait. And then your Azerite necklace levels up again, and then your helmet gains a trait, and then your shoulders gain a trait, and your chest gain a trait. And then your Azerite necklace levels up again, and then this gains a trait, and it's a real complex system right off the bat, okay? Without getting into all the other systemic problems and all the other RNG factors that come into play with the traits being unbalanced, the balancing of the traits, with being able to run a neutral base instead of just spec specific base traits, being having 3 different armor slots to all have traits thrown into. Okay, so then if we come over here and we look at the Legion system, okay, you had artifact power. It's a little bottle of arc wine, right? It's pretty funny, right? And the artifact power was put directly into the Ashbringer or whatever weapon, right? And then the Ashbringer would level up, and then what would happen? The Ashbringer would get a trait. And then what? You would get more artifact power for the Ashbringer. And then the Ashbringer would unlock another trait for the Ashbringer. And the Ashbringer was a Retribution Paladin weapon. The Prot Paladin didn't have an Ashbringer. Now, this did cause problems whenever you would go into spec switching. This was a thing. You couldn't just switch specs, because then you didn't drop enough artifact power into your protection or your holy set. So I understand that this created problems in this area, but that's why we were trying to come up with a new system, and this is exactly the reason why that they wanted to move it to an armor piece like the necklace. But what they messed up with is thinking that they needed to take the system and instead of implementing a system where you level up your necklace and the necklace has traits, they made it where the system was that you level up the necklace and then all of a sudden your helmet has traits and your shoulder has this many traits, and you have to reforge your shoulders and your chest and your helmet if you want to play this spec. So really, in my opinion, all they should have done, and I can show it to you just like this. We can make our own little dynamic painting here. Okay. Here is what they should have done, in my opinion. This would have fixed a lot of the problems. They could have made... This is the Heart of Azeroth, okay? This is the little necklace. Okay, I'm gonna draw this a little bit better. Oops. Okay, it's a circle. So this is the Heart of Azeroth. We'll get the blue in here, and the yellow to make it look like Azerite. What they should have done, we'll get the chunk of Azerite. There's a little Azerite crystal with the blue. Is they should have made it to where whenever you get artifact power, okay, it goes directly into your Heart of Azeroth. Your Heart of Azeroth then levels up. And if they wanted to keep the rings, that's fine. Now, look, they could have had it where your Heart of Azeroth has, depending on your race or your class, if you were a druid, it would have, 4 specs. Your Heart of Azeroth would have different, like a talent tree, just like the artifact weapon did in Legion, and it would have a talent tree or a talent setting just for whatever spec you were in. So if I was a frost mage, I would have specific an entire laid out, and if you didn't want to go with the same format as Legion, you could even have it where you could switch things up, where instead of following a set path like you did in Legion, you could actually have a few choices. Okay, so that you could follow the kind of the little Azerite trait system that they have now, where you make choices, but it would be a little bit more predictable and a little bit more balanced than the way they have it now, and you could have all of these rings that they have, but um, instead of having a bunch of different gear that has Frostfire and Arcane mage traits on it, you could just have regular helmet, regular shoulders, and regular chest pieces, and they could all drop in Mythic Plus. So that would take away the issue with Mythic Plus drops, because people are having a problem with armor, Mythic helmets and chests and shoulders dropping in Mythic Plus. So if they weren't Azerite armor to begin with, you wouldn't have this problem anymore. Okay, and so where you could move all those traits to, you could just make those normal pieces of gear and make them drop regularly, and then all the artifact traits could be moved to the necklace. Okay, and then as you level the necklace up, you get spec specific or even raid specific. You can have it. You can have little, like, let's say this was a trait, right? And then underneath the trait had some text, and the text said, um, "Kill Gahoon." Okay, and then what was this? This would be Archive of the Titans, okay, or Laser Matrix. Now, why would this be beneficial? Because currently there is nothing in the game that meets the same kind of content satisfaction as the artifact appearances, right? There's nothing that, like, I remember being able to play for weeks trying to chase after some of these hidden artifact appearances, or trying to get some of the more challenging ones like the Mage Tower, or complete the Mage Class Hall campaign. So there's nothing in the game that are like these. What's a better example? Complete the Balance of Power quest line. That required you to do several raids and several. Of course, these are all cosmetics, and these aren't these aren't performance changing abilities. So I can understand where some people would be upset where with people that play longer and who get things done, that have a benefit over people who are new or don't get things done. But I don't know. It was just an idea. It was just a thought, because there's nothing currently in the game and no form of content that is like the artifact appearance. There's nothing in the game and no form of content that's like the Mage Tower. There's nothing in the game and no form of content that's like Suramar. There's nothing in the game and no form of content that is a max level zone like Broken Shore or Suramar, anything like that. So you could have these traits that are all this, and this is just a way to have progression, so that instead of, because this is only to combat the argument, well, if you didn't have different Azerite armor, you would just unlock all the traits, and then there would be no way to add new traits. No, you could constantly add new traits. When 8.1 comes out, you could add a new trait called Sinashari something something, where you kill one of Ashara's lieutenants and you get water walking. Right? It's a Azerite trait that allows you for the rest of the expansion to walk on water, because you're not going to get it flying until 8.2. So this 8.1 trait would allow you to walk on water, because there's tons of water that you would need to walk across for this for BFA. I'm constantly having to buy potions. That would be an awesome Azerite trait. What else? You could make it where you could have a trait right here that says defeat Zul without dispelling Death Wish. So whenever your people get it's kind of like achievement stuff that doesn't follow the regular mechanics, like achievement runs, stuff that's difficult that you wouldn't normally do, stuff that you would see on your achievement list, like the normal mechanics for Zool is somebody gets Death Wish, you let them run towards the edge of the map, and you dispel Death Wish so that they don't jump off the edge, but you also let them get far enough away so that they don't damage the group. And you don't want to dispel both of them so that you are at the same time so that you have enough time to heal the group back up in between both dispels. And then you want to dispel the minions as well in between both dispels. So you could have a little uh, Azerite trait for killing Zul without the raid team dispelling anybody with Death Wish, and then this would make it to where Zul no longer targets you specifically with Death Wish, right? And then if your entire raid group did this, then that would be a mechanic that your raid team no longer has to worry about. Why would you have to worry about that if you've already mastered that mechanic? You know, if you've mastered that fight well enough that you can completely ignore a mechanic as as um as threatening as that, then then you deserve to have that mechanic not even be a threat. I don't know. This is just some ideas. I just thought I would throw this out there, see what y'all think. Leave some comments below telling me what y'all think, if y'all agree with what I'm saying, or if y'all have any other ideas about some of this stuff. This is just, in my opinion, why I think that the Azerite system did not or is not working as well as the artifact system and the artifact weapon system worked. And some of the ways and some of the ideas on how I think it could be improved and could be fixed. So if you like this, please leave a like and subscribe. And uh, uh, once again, this is Inlight with Enlightened Gaming. So thank you for watching. Peace out.